The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, welcome to the webinar, Bitrix24, Better Business Processes. So who are we? I'm Damien Edwards, Commercial Manager of Bitrix Partners Interface. With me I have Andy Naylor, our Support Manager.
Hi guys, if you've got any questions throughout the webinar, just put them in the box provided and we'll have a Q&A session at the end of each section.
So we're partners of Bitrix24. We're located in Sheffield in the UK, as well as New York and Dubai. We manage all pre-sale support, so we can provide a demo and discuss different editions of Bitrix and which would be most suitable for your business. We provide a full implementation service, including customization. If you choose a self-hosted or on-premise version of Bitrix, we're able to provide a hosting solution for you, or support you to set it up on your server, and we provide a telephone support service to all cloud and on-premise customers. So what is Bitrix24? A suite of tools for managing all aspects of your business, from sales, projects, and HR. Now over 3 million customers on Bitrix24, available as a cloud product on a monthly subscription with commercial packages starting from $24 a month, and self-hosted solutions, essentially a lifetime cost, starting at just under $1,500. So what are business processes? The business process module within Bitrix allows organizations to execute and monitor workflows on items such as documents, CRM items like leads and deals, tasks, and also within HR, such as leave requests and expenses submission. Bitrix includes a very advanced editor tool, which includes simple drag and drop action blocks, which we'll have a look at in a little bit. Two types of business processes, and he's going to show us these now.
Yeah, if we just jump into Bitrix, and we'll first of all look at the sequential business process. So a sequential business process is basically has a predefined start point, and then we flow through all of the actions here, so based on the criteria that's met, and we'll have a look at how we build these a little bit later. And then it has a predefined endpoint. So these can become quite complex. They can be pretty simple, but the main point is they're triggered on the start point, flow through, and finish on the endpoint. And then there's another type of business process on Bitrix, and that is a status-driven business process. And the difference is this doesn't have a predefined start point and end point, and instead it has a series of different statuses. So the one on the screen here, you can see that a document may have different statuses such as approval, publishing, and draft. And when it hits one of those statuses, then it triggers a child business process here. So they're the two types. We're going to go into them a little bit more detail later on. We're going to build one, and we're going to run some live examples as well. So just jump back.
Okay, thanks. So let's have a look at how processes are managed. We'll look at where they can be run firstly. how they can be created and what you can use to actually trigger a business process. So running business process, where can they be run? On the cloud. On cloud accounts, they can be running for HR and admin purposes, such as leave requests. Within the CRM, on leads, deals, contacts, and companies, you can run them on documents. And also, we can run business process on lists, which are essentially tables of data for various users. If you're on the self-hosted, it is possible to run them in a few different areas as well, additional areas. So you can run them on tasks. You could run them on user profiles, for example. If you want to trigger a notification when somebody changes a profile or doesn't complete a user profile, you could run a process on that. And it would be possible to run kind of more custom processes on the self-hosted. So Andy's going to show you the location of some of these, and the HR ones and the CRM, and also where you can run them on documents.
Yeah, so we just jump back into Bitrix, and the first port of call we'll click on is the activity stream. So if you're on a paid version of Bitrix from the cloud through to the self-hosted, then you'll have access to these workflows. So on the activity stream here, click on more and click on workflow, and then you can see here we've got a series of examples on our demonstration site. If you click on leave approval, so this is the first place, the activity stream is where you can start to run this particular workflow. The second area, as Damon mentioned, is in the CRM. So we can trigger business processes on leads, contacts, companies, and deals. So if we go into, let's go into example for a lead as an example, and click into here. So we can run business processes based on this lead. If you click on the little workflow tool here, and we can manually run the workflows. Alternatively, in Bitrix leads and deals, we have an automation tab here, and you can see here every time a lead hits a new status, then we can trigger a particular action based on that status. So again, we're going to go look at quite a bit more detail into these examples in a little bit, but we just wanted to show you where we can actually run these. We can also run business processes on document drives. So if we go into an example, if we go into and click into a drive here, we just need to make sure that the business processes are activated on this particular drive. And as they are, we just click on business processes, and you can see if I just click on to create, these are the standard business processes that Bitrix comes with on document drive. So you can see here we can, if a document gets uploaded to a particular drive, we can have approvals, we can have the ability to mark as read, and so on and so forth. So it does have a lot of key areas within the different modules to run business processes. As I mentioned, we're going to go into how we can create these and how we can set them up in a moment.
Okay, let's see if we've got any questions. We have one about can permissions be assigned to processors? I only want managers to be able to access processors such as expenses. Let's have a quick look in here. So I guess you're referring to these workflows here. So within here, there is kind of a purchase. Let's look at purchase request, and so that's available for me to view that. If we go into workflows here on the side, and then click into workflows in activity stream. So and then we look for our purchase requests. We need to click through to change workflow parameters, and then within here we can change things like the description of the workflow. We can also change access. So in this case, administrators have full access. This particular user has full access, and then all visitors can add, can submit a new request, but you could restrict that. So you could deny access to all visitors. So maybe you just want to give access to a group of users, or just specify an individual user. So that's where you go to do that. Okay, we've got a question. We've been asked if we can supply a recording of the webinar. We'll send that out afterwards. Is Bitrix supplied with pre-built business processes? It is supplied with pre-built processes within the workflows in the activity stream, also on the document drive. Within the CRM, there are no pre-built business processes. We're going to show you how to create some of those in a few minutes. Are you able to create different processes that differentiate by audience? For example, one process for the mother company, completely different process or edited version of a process for individual branches or locations. So I'm not too sure whether you're if you're referring to the mother company as in your customer, or Bitrix enterprise version allows you to create multiple instances, multiple companies within. So if you're referring to your customer, I think you'd have to get in touch. I think you'd have to get in touch if you could get in touch afterwards with a description of what you want to do. Sure, it's possible, but you could trigger. I think you could trigger different processes for different companies based on a condition. Let's go into settings and automation into the business processes. So if we went into one of the processes we have set up, then you could use a condition. So this condition could look at the company type, and it might be you're using a standard company type field. There is a company type field already, or you could create a custom field that categorizes that type of company. So and it could use a condition to look at that field. So should it say this is a head office company or this is a branch company, it will trigger slightly different processes. They might be very similar, it just be that the notifications or the tasks that it creates or the emails that it sends out or something have that slightly different content. But yeah, you could look for a condition.
Yeah, you mentioned about locations. This is probably one of the most common things for a condition, is that you can have a condition that checks for a location. So if it's a particular state, then you could trigger these particular actions. If it's the other state, then you could do this as well.
Okay, so we'll look at how do we create business processes. So Bitrix includes a very advanced visual editor tool for building processes. Uses very simple drag and drop technology, and Bitrix is shipped with a range of standard pre-built action blocks. We're going to create a process. Andy's going to show us a process now. In a sales process, it's going to look at a deal, and it's going to use a condition to look at the stage that a deal is at, and then it's going to trigger various items from that.
Yeah, so if we just go into the CRM where we are at the minute, click into settings and click into automation. Now, we're not going to use the automation leads and deals section here. I'm going to show you that in a little bit. Instead, we're going to click on business processes and click on add template. So what we're going to look at is deal stage checks. And what we want to do is we want to check when a new deal has been added, so the initial stage, and also when a deal has been changed. So if somebody moves a particular deal through each stage, then we just need to have it when changed on there. So if we click on save, and as we've mentioned a couple of times already, we're going to have a condition block here. And this condition block is basically going to check the deal stage. So if we just call this quote and what I'm going to do, element field is the fields within the deal. Click on stage, and then we can find the stage quotation here. Click on save. We're going to do the same for prospects. So when the deal stage hits prospect introduction, then it's going to perform the actions underneath again. So you can see how you can build these up, and then we'll have this as a one deal. So when the deal hits one, then we're going to perform this particular series of actions. So you can see again, deal stage closed one, and we can click on. So you can see down the right hand side we have quite a lot of different blocks. So you can create tasks, calendars, you can send SMS messages if you want. We have some pre-built already. So if we booking a phone call, prior to that we're going to wait for 7 days. And then we're going to perform a credit check on here. So you can see if you've pre-built action blocks, you can simply don't have to create them again. You can simply bring in
Okay, thanks. So just to run through this, then it's looking at the stages of a deal. If we looked at, let's just open up a deal in a new tab so we can see what we're talking about. So a deal has different stages across the top here, and when we update the stages manually, or if we use an external trigger to update the stages, then it's gonna activate this particular process. And we're at quote stage. In this example, we'll pause 7 days, and then a phone call will be created for somebody to follow up. When we get to this later stage, then we're going to send an assignment to somebody to check whether they're good for credit, and we'll get a feedback on whether that's been agreed or refused. And then when we win this particular deal, we're going to send out some notifications to the team, so that you can see how we can build that up and how you can add additional functionality to that. So it might be that actually you might just, all you want in this process is maybe just something like this, just to book the follow-up call and then send out a notification when it's won. But you can add additional branches to check it, to run actions at additional stages in this sales.
I think we're showing you here the difference between moving along a deal through its stages, and obviously the automation side, which we're going to go into in a little bit, probably covers this. The reason why I'm showing you this side is because you can become a little bit more dynamic with, especially on the self-hosted, you can introduce, we have a PHP block in here, so we bring in a PHP block, and that allows us then to connect to and integrate to other systems APIs, and it becomes a little bit more technical.
Yeah, okay. So that's how we create business processes. To finish off this section, let's look at how we can trigger business processes. So again, slightly different with the cloud. So some additional ones with the self-hosted, but with cloud accounts. As we saw, you might have seen there, a business process can be triggered when a new item is created and when an item is updated. So updated meaning when anything is changed. Let's say we're doing it on a lead. When anything is changed within that lead, when any fields are changed within that lead, it will trigger the business process. They can be run manually. So for instance, in the stream, we looked at requesting leave. That's an example of how a process can run manually. You can still run processes manually in the CRM, and you might want to run a process manually on documents to get approval. We do have webhooks now available on the cloud. If you've got a little bit more developer experience in-house, then you could trigger a business process from using a webhook from an external or another application. With the self-hosted, you could use an email trigger, an incoming email could trigger a process, or you could use the API, the full API that's available as self-hosted. Okay, so let's have a look at how we can trigger processes. Let's have a look at, Andy's going to show us how to trigger a process, how an email such as a support at email address will trigger or create a help desk ticket.
Okay, so if I just go back into our self-hosted edition, then you can, for those of you that are using the cloud at the moment, you may notice a slight difference. On the self-hosted edition, we have access to this section here called the control panel. And one of the features that comes with the self-hosted version is the help desk, and that allows you to allow your clients or your internal users to submit support tickets. And what Bitrix allows you to do is, in our mail section here, we can set up a particular mailbox. So we might have, for example, we have support at interface.com as set up as a mailbox here, and we can actually perform a rule, so a business process, on that particular mailbox, and it allows us to create a support ticket. So this rule will, an email will be received. The rule will check if the user exists as a client on our system. If it does, then it will create a new support ticket for one of our help desk team. And then if one of our help desk team reply, then the user will get an email, and then they can reply to that email, and so on and so forth. So it creates a really solid way of replying and creating support tickets based on a business process rule on a mailbox.
Okay, thanks. Let's see if we've got any questions. Is the API available on the cloud? So there is webhook. Webhooks are available on the cloud and self-hosted. There is an API in the cloud. It's more limited to being able to generate leads. So there's it depends which area of the system you want to integrate with. You can certainly generate a lead from a web form or something, but it's limited in some other areas of the system. Okay, I'm interested in HR and admin processes, and having all processes under an online platform shared with the whole company. Would have access to this under a single sign-in. Okay, so we have a general question about having access to all your HR processes using a Google single sign-on. Yeah, that's possible with. I think you can do it with any account. So yes, that's possible. Okay, let's have a look at some live examples in a little bit more detail. We'll look at a custom process to create a new project. We'll look at a standard process to request leave, and then we'll look at a process in the CRM that creates some automation on new inquiries or new leads. Go back into the front end of the site and close out of that. So first process is to create a new project. Now you might do this, let's look at the CRM first. So you might do this in a couple of different ways. Might be that actually you go into your company that you've got a new project for, and you can trigger a business process from this screen here. So we have a project here, a process here called Create Project, and this presents us with a form requesting a little bit more information, description, deadline. You could set a manager. You can create these forms yourself. So and this completing this form and submitting this will trigger a process, and it can pull. If you run this from the company record, then it can pull information from the company record, such as company name, any of the other fields that exist within the company record, and it will also record it in the activity, so you can see that process has been run. Let's have a look though at how to do a workflow from the home page using a form also. So this is a new project form. Give the project a name. Again, custom forms, so you'd add your own fields to this. We're going to select some people that are going to be involved in the project. We're going to put in a deadline date for it. You can add some text into the description box. You can add some files in here, and we have a condition in this process which will look at the type of project which I've selected. So let's submit that. And first thing we notice is that we get a notification. So I did assign myself as the manager of this project. So I've been asked to approve this. Let's open this up, and it's asked us for an estimated completion date. So let's put end of the month. Let's approve that particular project. Refresh the page now. We will see that this is completed and that a new work group has been created. If we wanted to build in a link to it, we could have done it there, but let's go into our work groups. And okay, so the notifications come through now. A new project has been created, and it's asking us to click on the link to go to the project. So this is the name of the project. These are the people that we added into this project work group. If we just go into the drive, we'll see this is the document that we added in. And if we click into tasks as well, then go into the list view, then we can see that also a task has been created as well for this project. Let's have a look at the actual workflow for this. In fact, if you go into workflows on the left and workflows in activity stream, and find our workflow, which is new project, and a few clicks to get through to the actual workflow itself. So this is the process that was triggered when we completed the form. Did ask us to approve this new project. If we'd have rejected that, would have sent a notification out and completed down here. But we approved it, and so the project group was created. People were added to the group here. The document we added in the form was added to the group as well. We did have a condition, and which asked us to select which type of project, and based on the answer to that drop down, a different set of tasks are created depending on the project, and we received a welcome message which has been created by this action block. So this is a fairly straightforward process which you can create yourself. Let's go back into activity stream, and let's have a look at secondly then a standard process which is available shipped with the product, and this allows me to submit a request for leave. So we can put our dates in, we can select a type of leave, you can customize this form. If you need to collect additional information for this request, you can do that. So and you can see that I've requested this, and we can see that it's actually with my manager. If we just go into employees section and go into the company structure, you can see that I'm this user here, and you can see the head of the department is this person here. So automatically the process is using the company structure in order to send out the request for approval for this leave. This means that if somebody changes roles, then we don't need to actually update the business process. It's always going to be working off the company structure. So I will see my requests, outstanding requests in here. My manager will receive their request in their pending folder, and they'll be able to work through a list of pending leave approval requests in their assignments page. We'll not log in as that user, but the process is they'll approve it, and I'll receive a notification say that's been approved. In addition, if you want to be able to manage actual entitlement to leave, numbers of days that users are entitled to, we have a plugin that allows you to set a limit on the number of days that a person can take leave in a period of time, in a calendar year. So get in touch with us if you want to add some of that extra functionality to the leave process. Andy will show us quickly the business process for leave.
Okay, if we go into the workflow and the settings, so just if you've got a paid version of Bitrix, if we go into the workflows directory here, then you'll see that we have these 5 standard workflows installed already. So what Damien's just gone through there is the leave approval. And if it's not installed, there'll be a green button here that says install. And it's just a reminder that if you don't have a paid version, then you won't be able to see this at all. So you do need a paid version of Bitrix. So if we go to the leave approval, let's just take a quick look at the form first of all. So if we go to actions and customize fields, you can see how you can build the forms up. So you can just click on add field in the top right hand corner, and you can add different types of fields. So you can really customize this to meet your requirements for all your HR needs. And you can basically fill in, we've got date fields here, the lists, and we've got a couple of hidden fields. So the approved is used in the actual workflow behind the leave submission. So if I go back into actions and click on configure workflows and click on leave approval, you can see here, pretty similar to what we've already experienced using the business process tool, is we have a series of different actions that are carried out once the leave request has been submitted. So you saw on the company structure that the user's supervisor was requested as approver. So if we click into here, then we can specify that the supervisor is the person who needs to approve this leave. If the person doesn't have a supervisor, then we can select someone in the HR department to approve the leave instead. So now that that approver has been set up, then the leave approval loop is set here. So this is the one that sends the request to the approver. If they approve it, it sets the status to approved. If they reject it, it sets the status to rejected. And then we have a condition that checks the status. If it's been rejected, we'll send a notification to the employee down the right hand side here to say it's been rejected. And if it's been approved, we send a notification to the employee that leave has been approved. And it checks the leave type. So if it was annual leave, which I believe it was, then it will get added to the absence chart as annual leave. So again, this comes as standard in Bitrix. So you can have a play around with the actual process, and you can see and test it, how it works. And yeah, it's very straightforward and very simple to do.
Okay, thanks. Let's have a look then finally at a slightly different process. It doesn't use the business process tool, uses the automation within the CRM. If we go into, let's click into leads, and we can see we've got a couple of leads here. Let's go into different ways to generate leads or to capture leads in Bitrix. So you can use website widgets, you can use website forms, an incoming telephone call or email can generate a lead. And in addition to that, you can use open channels to capture messages or to generate leads from messages on platforms such as Facebook. So you've got one one place to manage all inquiries from your various different marketing sources, and you can manage those leads inside your leads module within Bitrix. Let's go on to a website and let's complete a form. So this is a website widget, and this is you can generate these widgets within Bitrix. It will we have a tool that allows you to create the form, and it will generate the code for you to embed on your site.
Yeah, if you watch the CRM webinar that's on our YouTube channel, we actually go into the different types and different ways to generate leads. So you just need to pop onto our YouTube channel and have a search for the CRM webinar, and you'll be able to learn how to create these.
Okay, so I've completed my form and I've successfully submitted the form. If we go back into our leads, then I can see, just disappear, let's open the loop up again, so I can see that I have a new lead, gives me a notification, will link me through to that lead. So this is the information I submitted in the form, and like we say, you can add additional fields to that form to capture more information at that stage. But essentially, I now have a lead which has different stages up here. If we go into our automation tab within the lead, we can see that we have various items that sit below these different stages. So as the lead achieves these different stages, it will trigger what we call these automation rules that sit below. So you can see that the notification which we just clicked on was sent out. So when the lead is created as new, there's a notification. Second thing that happens is an email is going to be sent out automatically to follow up this new lead. Should nothing else happen within 3 days, so it's going to pause 3 days. So I can see that actually this item is activated, and within 3 days we'll have an email sent out. Should nothing happen, then we're going to get a change of status. So I think in this example, the status change puts the lead on hold should there be no further activity. When we move up to valuing, then again we're going to send a notification out to somebody to reassign this actually to a new person, so we can actually change the responsible person on this. If we move a bit further on, we've got things like on hold here. We've got so should the lead get to the status on hold where we don't think anything's going to happen with this particular inquiry, we can send out, here we have an automated robocall, a voice message. And let's just click into edit so we can see the sort of different options that we have available. If I click in to here, then you can see that things that you can do in an automated sense is change the responsible person for a lead. You can update the status. We can send email and notifications. We can schedule calls and meetings, and we can also schedule or send SMS messages. You can, in addition to that, target adverts based on the telephone number or email address linked to a lead. Target adverts on Facebook and other platforms here, and we can use things like webhooks in order to post information to other systems if you've got a little bit more developer experience. So the sort of actions that you can easily create based on the stage. What can trigger those actions is updating the stages manually like this, but in addition to that, we can add external triggers. So should an incoming email come in which matches the email we already have recorded on this lead, that will update the status of this. Let's just go on to converted. So if we wanted to add an email trigger at this stage, we can do that. So should a follow-up email come in from this particular prospect, then provided the email address matches, they're using the same email address, that will convert this lead to a permanent record in the system. In addition to that, we can use incoming calls, form submissions. Again, webhooks. So you might be working with additional systems. You might need a webhook in order to trigger status change on this lead. So there's various ways that you can automatically update the stage of a lead without a salesperson manually changing these stages. So that's a different way of using some automation, and I think this tool's a little bit simpler to use in some respects than the business process tool we looked at before. I think there's probably some more flexibility on the business process tool, with probably a little bit extra functionality as well, but there's quite a lot of different rules on this particular lead. It might be actually that you use the automation, but you just use it for in a very simple way, maybe just to send out a notification, let's say at this stage when you've actually converted a lead. So it might be that you don't need to add quite as much complexity to this automation, but it's either way, it's fairly straightforward to set up. Let's see if we've got any questions.
The calendar behind everything can be Google one. Yeah, so you can integrate your Google Calendar with Bitrix.
Can we request external emails to access particular files in a project? Not too sure what you mean by access, but external emails. Certainly, certainly an external email, if it's sent to the right email address or has a sort of the right reference in the subject line, it could post a file into a project group. I'm not too sure what you mean by access.
How easy or difficult is it to manage projects in Bitrix using independent contracts to access files and work on them? So you can have extranet users. So you could invite your extranet users in as your clients and your independent contractors. And then, yeah, they could access it via that method, and that's one way of doing that.
Okay, I'm currently on the standard cloud version. Is it possible to get access to a test environment able to test out the business processes? There isn't a test environment available or development environment available for standard cloud users. If you wanted, you can create a free account, and there's some functionality available on there, but it's a bit limited.
I would probably recommend, in the case that you're not wanting to trigger business processes off in a live environment, I would probably make sure that when you create them, they're not set to trigger when created or when changed. So you could just manually trigger a business process off to test.
Yeah, you could also create a second account, a paid account, for a month or two, just a month or two, and when you're happy with the processes, you can export them and then import it into your current live account, but you would have to pay for them. Okay. So we mentioned cloud and self-hosted a few times. What's the difference between the two? I think most of the tools we've looked at today are available on both. They both include the business process editor tool. They both include the automation in leads and deals on the CRM. On the cloud, you can run process on documents, HR, CRM, lists, and you can create a lead from a web form. And you can also create those web widgets that we looked at, the little forms, the little widgets on the websites. On the self-hosted, there is some additional options there. You can really process, you can really run business processes on any entity within the system, and you can create, you can use external triggers such as web forms in the emails and the API. So in summary, you can run business processes on various areas of the system: documents, CRM, HR, and lists. We have a very simple to use drag and drop workflow creator, and business processes can be triggered either manually by the user, or automatically when something changes, or by an external source. And that's it. We have a webinar every week at the same time. We look at the CRM, we look at project management, we look at HR, and we also look at business processes in detail. In addition to our webinars, we have a live event every Thursday. No registration required, no subject. You can post questions live on YouTube. We'll answer those questions. There's our links to YouTube live session, and also a link to where you can get to a page to register for future webinars.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.
I just had a question about the recording. Yeah, if you've obviously registered for the webinar, so we'll send a recording out via email after this is finished. All our previous webinars are on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, so you can actually see a Better Business Processes webinar from a previous occasion on there.